Hey guys, so welcome back to the Great Answer 32. Let's carry on where we left off. It's the 24th of October, 9:11 a.m., the Old Bailey, Defendant's Antechamber. We got a big day ahead of us today in court, especially since we managed to catch up with Enoch DREBBER, the person of interest who is responsible for creating the fraudulent instantaneous kinesis machine that Professor Hairbrain hinged his hypothesis on. Unfortunately, however, it came at a price. A bomb exploded at the Great Exhibition stage, which pretty much destroyed the remainder of the machine that was still on display. But we managed to save his workshop, thankfully, since we were present at the time. That's how we caught him, after all. But I'm quite curious to see what his connection is with everything that's gone on so far in the case, including the professor and his mysterious identity. For now, though, we're about to go into court with Van Zeeks and his assistant Kazuma. Apparently he can't defeat us on his own, so he's going to bring his assistant, especially now that Susato is by my side, so let's see how it all plays out. Good morning to you, Mr. Naruhodo. Good morning, Professor. Ready for today's proceedings? I hope so. I should be. Even I, with nothing left to... Good morning, my dear fellows. Sholmes. Oh, Mr. Sholmes, you're here. You managed to wake up in time. Why, naturally. A true gentleman stands shoulder to shoulder with his friends in battle at all times. Right, well, Susato is going to be standing next to me. I hope you'll just stay in the gallery. Thank you. I really appreciate it. I'll, see you later then. Now, Professor, we really need you to remain calm in the courtroom today, alright? Don't say anything that's devastating to my case. Yes. Do try your hardest not to enter the witness stand uninvited again. Yes, I will. I realize it was a mistake, but my dear fellows, I must interject. Yes, Mr. Sholmes. Oh, you're still here, Mr. Sholmes. What's the matter? Surely you've overlooked some praise, have you not? To be cast in my direction. Sorry? I don't follow. Must I spell it out? I, the great Herlock Sholmes, the greatest detective of worldwide acclamation, arose at some ungodly hour to be here now, first thing in the morning. A miracle, you must agree. I do agree it's a miracle, but it's just a miracle for you. It's a regular day in the office for the rest of us. Well, if I must agree, then. As you know, my sleep is quite impregnable. Iris had to employ her full gamut of tactics. She pulled the covers off, shook me, poked both cheeks, punched me, and kicked me from the bed. Then she poured a boiling cup of her latest experimental blend on my face, and at last I was bestirred. Wow, she really did pull out all the stops. Yeah, my Iris has been busy. Iris doesn't have it in her to go that far. She's too nice. Ah, I sense the spirit of a fellow scientist, one who relishes the infinite possibilities of blending tea. I'm the one worthy of praise here, not Iris. This is my victory. Sorry to cut in. Gregson? Oh, Inspector Gregson. Good morning. What a great reunion we're all having in the defendant's antechamber. What are you doing here? Gregson, my dear fellow. Why the grim expression at this delightfully early hour? Because I fucking had to wake up early, that's why. Oh, I don't know. Maybe because I've been confronted with a grimmer expression, eh? Dare me. Are you going to take that insult lying down, Professor? What? What? I don't know. Poor Professor. Anyway, here's the paperwork you asked for. What paperwork? Ah, I took the liberty of requesting it yesterday. I have a feeling it may prove useful. You wouldn't believe the hoops I had to jump through to get this brought out of the archives. Oh, I was about to say, is it something to do with the professor? It's the professor's autopsy report. That mass murderers who killed 5 members of the aristocracy. It's still early in the morning for me too, okay? He was found guilty in a closed trial 10 years ago now. It was all done under wraps. He was quickly executed soon after the trial. It's all in here. Killer's autopsy report has been entered in the court record. Okay. The autopsy report of the mass murderer known as the Professor, who was tried and found guilty by closed trial 10 years ago. What the hell's that all about? Closed trial, they hurried and executed him. What the hell for? What were they covering up? I don't know what to say. Thank you, Inspector. I do know what I'm going to do, though. I'm going to peruse this autopsy report Condemned prisoner, redacted for confidentiality, pseudonym the Professor. Death by hanging confirmed at midnight, 17th June. Courtney Stevens. Well, shit. What a great autopsy report that is. Very succinct, concise, to the point. Yes, much obliged, Gregson. I slowly lot of the yard and just doing what we can. In the shadow of the great Detective Sholmes, of course. Of course. Well then, Professor Hairbrain. This is it. Today we're going to lay this all to rest at last. I wish you the best of luck, Professor. I suppose. He'll be in there today, won't he? Drebber. Yes, we expect the prosecution to summon him as a witness. I'm still amazed that you managed to find him in just one day. I really owe you both so much. We tried very hard. I'm sure we would have found him either way, given that there would have been 2 bombs exploding all over London. Counsel and the defendant, the trial is about to resume. Kindly make your way into the courtroom at once. Alright, let's not waste any more time. This is it then. The final chapter. Funny. My heart's racing a little. I've not felt this before, actually. This strange foreboding. As if something's going to happen in this trial that I'm not ready for. Well, geez, man, I was confident until you said that. Now I'm nervous. But I can't let that distract me from the only thing that really matters. Finding the truth. I suppose, proving Hairbrain's innocence will be equally as important. 24th October, 9:30 a.m. The Old Bailey. Courtroom. Okay. I expect a lot of things are going to go down in this trial then. In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session again. We resume the public hearing of Albert Hairbrain, here present, who stands accused of murder. Are the counsels for the prosecution and defense ready to proceed? The prosecution is ready, my lord. Defense is ready, my lord. As promised, Lord Van Zeeks has his apprentice with him. His apprentice with memory loss. Very handy. Susato's just gonna stare at him the entire time. If I may, Lord Van Zeeks. Yes, my lord. There appears to be someone standing at your side. Yes, he's here to catch my hallowed chalice the moment I toss it at the chandelier. Ah, yes, my apprentice and assistant. The prosecution believes today's proceedings will see the complexity of this case rise considerably. I am but one man. Oh, wow. Okay. Oh, he's got a sword too. I therefore instructed my assistant to attend to ensure the smooth running of the trial. Well, well. And the smooth running of liquid refreshments, by the look of it. At least on that side of the courtroom. I could use a glass of water. I'm sweating a lot. The way he holds himself, the way he moves. It couldn't be anyone else. But he's still suffering from amnesia. So there's really nothing we can do at the moment. I suppose his soul is still in my katana. Maybe I just hand it over. Stab him in the heart. Inject his soul back in. I know, but this is so very hard. It would appear the prosecution has done a fine job in responding to the demands of the court made yesterday, and also engaging in psychological warfare. I see the defense's assistant is welling up with tears. I understand you have successfully secured the engineer who disappeared from the scene on the day in question? Yeah, thanks to me. I did that. Yes, my lord. I intend to call him as a witness shortly. Very good, very good. The defense, what did you do yesterday? Did you do anything useful? Now then, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, who have been chosen at random, I swear to God, to represent the will of the people in this courtroom today, are you ready and willing to proceed? Of course, my lord. I'm sure we all understand the importance of doing our civic duty. I do so despise deception and deceit. I find it so very wearing. To take a man's life with a conjuring trick is against the magician's code, not to mention the law. Any fake scientist should feel the wrath of God, if you ask me. You have to listen to what's said on both sides of the fence.
and, then settle on one. That's it, isn't it?
Wasn't like this in my day. Wasn't like this at all. Have all your voices changed since the last time? I swear it's hard to keep it consistent. If all parties are ready to proceed, you may begin, Lord Van Zeeks. Before I do, my lord, there is a report I must read to the court. Yesterday at the Great Exhibition Grounds, the evidence of primary importance in this case, the super high voltage instantaneous kinesis machine, which was installed on the experimentation stage, was deliberately destroyed in an explosion effected by an unknown person or persons. It was... what? Explosion! Oh my god, he's got a gun! Put it away, man! This is an outrage! Oh yeah, it's got the court in uproar already. It's not even 9:45. Yes, I heard this grave news yesterday. Scotland Yard submitted a report to my office in the evening. Even though Drebber all but confessed to it by saying that we stopped this bomb being the one at the workshop. I read that the machine was blasted to smithers, and the wreckage reduced to ashes in the flames. I have here a photographic print of the scene, taken in the wake of the explosion. I mean, it looks mostly intact, actually. I suppose there's debris in the back, but the bottom part is still pretty much in shape. It shows what little remains of the machine. Yes, a terrible business. Please put that in the court record. He did it to destroy the evidence, did he? That Enoch Drebber. The court will take this print as evidence, counsel. Post-explosion photograph has been entered into the court record photographic print of the experimentation stage after it was completely leveled by a time bomb. The middle floor of the stage has been blown open by the explosion. That means we can go down there and see where the other Drebber disappeared. Not Drebber, sorry. The other Odie Asmund disappeared to. We've been mentioning Drebber's name so much I completely forgot the victim's name for a second there. Late yesterday afternoon. Well, hold that thought, Van Zeeks. Please, I'd like to take another look at this. Okay. I swear this magnifying function is more trouble than it's worth. Okay. Very grainy photograph. You guys need to really work on your equipment. But nonetheless, it's got the job done. The protection afforded to the machine by the Special Dispensation for Scientific Equipment Act was revoked. However, before a thorough investigation could begin, the invention was obliterated from existence. As such, this will become a very different trial. Why are you pointing at me accusingly? As it stands now, with no evidence on which to draw meaningful conclusions, the authenticity of the kinesis machine will remain forever in obscurity. Indeed. A most unfortunate state of affairs. However, one thing remains clear. The victim's death was the result of the actions of the accused. Of that we can be certain. For it was the accused himself who was operating the machine, and who ultimately caused its loss of control.
Objection! Objection.
As Lord Van Zeeks rightly says, this is a very different trial now, not the fact that my client did it. That's incorrect. The accused accepts responsibility for his part in the events that transpired. He acknowledges that Mr. Asmund died as a result of the accident. Accident, I say, caused by his machine's malfunction. However, unbeknownst to the professor, he was being deliberately deceived by a pair of very clever fraudsters. Names, counsel, if you please. The engineer, Mr. Enoch Drebber, and the victim himself, Mr. Odie Asmund. Alright. Slam the desk for emphasis. So what exactly were these two men up to behind the defendant's back? The defense intends to expose that information, thus establishing the unequivocal innocence of the defendant. This is my opening statement. It's a pretty good one. Practiced all night. Especially my pointing finger. Thank you, counsels. The positions of the prosecution and defense have been clearly stated. Lord Van Zeeks, summon your first witness, please. At once, my lord. The prosecution calls the engineer, Mr. Enoch Drebber, to the stand. Alright, wasting no time, I like it. State your name and occupation for the court. I need to give this guy a proper voice. Name, Enoch Drebber. Occupation. Hard to pin down, I would say. See that black monocle? Yes, why do I feel as though I've seen it somewhere before?
Oh, E.T., I had exactly the same feeling myself.
Your file indicates that you are currently being investigated in connection with another case. The theft of a waxwork model, is it? A most extraordinary sounding business. But that has no bearing on this trial, I assure you. Leave it from your mind. You're familiar with the public experiment carried out at the Great Exhibition some days ago. The accused super high voltage instantaneous kinesis demonstration. Yes, you could say that. I am aware of it. There was a terrible accident, wasn't there? It was you, Mr. Drebber, who constructed the vast machine used in the experiment. Or so our investigations indicate. Can you confirm your involvement? Yes, I constructed it, in precise accordance with the blueprints. But that's all. Then the court would be very interested to hear your thoughts about the machine, I'm sure. An amazing device, if you ask me. The pinnacle of modern science, making instantaneous kinesis a reality at last. What? Good gracious! Do you mean to say that the experiment was bona fide? Is that your belief, sir? Yes, that is very much my belief. Such a waste that it blew up.
Objection!
You blew it up! But we've already established the machine was nothing more than a prop for your elaborate conjuring trick.
Objection!
You've established nothing of the sort. All that was shown during yesterday's proceedings is that the same outcome could have been produced by means of stage trickery. The defense merely proposed a method and demonstrated its feasibility. Nothing more. But... We've procrastinated long enough, I feel. Witness, you will now give your formal testimony about the machine that you constructed for the purpose of the demonstration at the Great Exhibition. Understood. Alright, let's hear it from the man himself. The kinesis machine. I met the young professor approximately 1 year ago, through Mr. Asman's introduction. He provided me with the blueprints and I constructed the machine to his precise specifications. It was no trick. If the whole show was a fraud, it would have required a body double. Tell me, did the victim have a twin? All the spectators saw the birdcage appear above their heads, and then crash headfirst into the crystal tower. A terrible accident, I grant you. Perhaps the science on which the machine was built was flawed somehow. Alright, well, obviously, body doubles what caught my attention. A body double? That goes without saying, surely. To give the impression that something has moved when in reality it hasn't. It's a basic conjuring principle. The deception cannot be achieved without substituting the original with a fake at some point in the performance. Well, lucky you just happened to steal a waxwork. Apparently you didn't need the head, though. I suppose you constructed that separately. But would I be right in saying you haven't managed to establish anything along those lines? Ugh. I'm close. I'm a thread away, incidentally. The prosecution has already confirmed that Mr. Asman has no twin siblings. It's my understanding that this witness is well versed in conjuring artfulness. But such talents do not indicate that he was actually able to accomplish what he claims. Namely, the construction of what, by all accounts, must have been an extremely complex scientific machine. It's all bells and whistles. Whatever do you mean? Yesterday's proceedings brought the true nature of your past exploits to light, Mr. Drebber. Indeed it did, my lord. Yeah, you're a fraud, you fucking loser. As a swindler who preys on innocent scientists to elicit government grant money through conjuring know-how. That's right, I said it. Yes, it's true that I possess considerable knowledge of stage magic. But crucially, my scientific knowledge more than matches that of any academic in the field. Investigation of the witness's workshop attests to that claim, my lord. He has a trophy. As evidence, the police found this Royal Society trophy for young talent in science there.
Yes, that's true. We spotted it there ourselves.
If a hypothesis is sound, it can always be forged into a physical manifestation, with sufficient skill. Though I may have sold the secrets of some deceptive wiles to sniveling, talentless scientists in the past.
Would you therefore assert that the explosion of the machine was
an unfortunate accident? Or, of course, a deliberate act of murder carried out by the misuse of the science. Oh dear. He's confusing us with his words of science.
Counsel for the defense, your cross-examination, please, before I lose my head.
Yes, my lord. Alright. I suppose we're gonna press every single statement to start things off. I don't think we can go straight for the body double just yet. Met the young professor approximately 1 year ago through Mr. Asman's introduction. I've taken a look already at the science trophy. The thing about this trophy is, it doesn't have a name on it. It doesn't say this is awarded to Enoch Drebber. It's just a trophy for fostering burgeoning talent for the future of scientific discovery. Nothing else we can examine about it, though. We can only look at the plaque. Press! So you were already acquainted with Mr. Asman himself? Not really. By chance I'd seen his name mentioned in the papers, that's all. But I had no interest in his private affairs. If he was an unscrupulous investor, it was no concern of mine. As long as people pay their bills, I take up my tools and construct what they ask for. So why did Mr. Asman approach you in particular, then? Who can say? I presume because my name is associated with excellence in engineering. Not to mention excellence in fraud. Hey, that's uncalled for. I don't have a trophy for that one. Hard to gauge. But the point is, all I did was construct the machine according to the blueprints I was given. In other words, the kinesis machine was built on solid scientific principles. Yes, you might say that. Professor Hairbrain certainly has a mind like no other. Is that so? He provided me with the blueprints and I constructed the machine to his precise specifications. It was no trick.
Hold it!
And where are those blueprints? Let me guess, you burned them yesterday. It's clear that you have both scientific knowledge and knowledge of conjuring magic, however. The more knowledge you have, the better equipped you are to handle whatever comes along. It's not my fault I'm intelligent, but your implication is that I furnished the machine with some trickery, I think. It's a possibility that we have to explore. Unfortunately, though, the machine has been blown to Kingdom Come. So there's really nothing left to explore, is there, you cheeky prick? It appears that the kinesis machine was fitted with a timed explosive device of some kind. And there's nothing left of that device either. Not a single shred of evidence remaining. Or so I hear. Jeez. Must have planned all this from the outset. I guess the time bomb was part of your specifications, was it? But in any case, it's abundantly clear that the experiment couldn't have been a trick. If the whole show was a fraud, it would have required a body double. Tell me, did the victim have a twin?
Hold it!
Of course, that's it! Mr. Asman was a twin!
Objection!
Even though we just debunked that. Perhaps my learned friend wasn't listening earlier. Mr. Asman had no twin siblings. No. I heard you before, but the thread of hope hadn't quite left me.
The demonstration could have been a trick if there was somebody who looked sufficiently like the victim. But Dr. Scythe absolutely ruled that out as a possibility.
It is beyond question that the victim himself, Mr. Asman, did move from the stage to the Crystal Tower. The fingerprints found at the scene attest to the fact.
So it can't have been orchestrated using someone who looked identical to Mr. Asman, then. What are you thinking, Mr. Naruhodo?
Oh, no, nothing. Just that the idea of someone who looked identical to the victim is playing on my mind. All the specters saw the birdcage appear above their heads and then crash headfirst into the crystal tower. Have I got anything about a waxwork here? I don't think so. I think it's still early. Oh, I haven't even examined this, have I? Is there anything to look at? There's the lock. This lock does look very strong, doesn't it? There's definitely no way you could remove the mask yourself if it was put on you.
It's a terrible way to treat someone, even a convicted criminal.
I know, it's barbaric. It's starting to make me livid, actually.
Mr. Naruhodo, please.
I mean, just think about it. Imagine if you had an itch on your cheek all of a sudden. You'd be utterly helpless.
Well, yes, that's true. But I'm not sure that warrants quite so much anger.
Oh, right, sorry. I guess you've never been bitten somewhere that you can't scratch for an extended period of time, Susato? Alright, is that all we can learn from this mask? Can't even see into his eyes. They're hollow. Empty, even. Okay, let's leave that for now. We may need to keep pressing. See if we can dig up some more information. Or at least another thing to add to the court record.
Hold it!
It crashed head first, you say? According to the many witness reports from those at the time, yes. Or maybe this is the one I need to present. Because he's saying head first, but for the wooden bird cage, it crashed not head first, but rather feet first. Okay, this might be what I need to present here, now that I think about it. Were you not there at the exhibition grounds on the day? Thinking, computing. Unlikely. I rarely leave my workshop. Yet another of your unique inventions was found at the scene. Well, it was the unveiling of a machine I'd labored over for many months. I saw it clearly with my own eyes. The birdcage plummeting headfirst into the tower. What a surprise. I believe the victim's neck was broken from the headlong fall, wasn't it? How would you have come by that information? Even an infernal recluse like me reads the newspapers, you know. According to the reports, 2 injuries were apparent on the victim's body. Yes, and stabbed in the chest by a screwdriver believed to belong to the defendant. And he had broken vertebrae, as a result of a fall from a considerable height. Correct. My learned friend has been doing his research, it seems. Yeah, I'm more than learned now. Now I'm academic. Do we know which injury was the fatal one? Sadly not. Forensic science is not yet at a level where such things can be determined. I like how he says that. He's like, well, in the future they might be, but for now, we haven't got the expertise. What we do know is that the victim died having sustained both injuries at some point during the experiment. And since he was found in the birdcage with his neck broken, it's obvious that he fell from a considerable height. I suppose that's hard to deny. Okay, a terrible accident. I grant you perhaps the science on which the machine was built was flawed somehow. No, this is the one I'm going to present the birdcage on.
Objection!
Alright. Confident. We've examined the birdcage that crashed into the crystal tower ourselves. As you can see, the cage, which is a wooden construction, has sustained damage in one particular spot. Following the explosion, it fell some 30 feet into the glass of the crystal tower. That level of damage is to be expected, surely. I agree. The damage itself is entirely understandable. What doesn't make sense is the location of that damage. Huh? All the breakages in the wood are at the base of the birdcage, not the top. What are you saying? Oh, he's nervous already.
That's the opposite of where they should be.
That's right, my lord. The birdcage that was at the scene is damaged at its base. So we have reports of the birdcage falling headlong into the crystal tower, yet the damage is at the bottom. The only way to reconcile these two facts is to accept that there were two bird cages in play that day which were at some point switched. Switched during what wasn't a scientific experiment at all, but an elaborate piece of stage trickery. Gah. That's right. Van Zeke, it's time to take your coat off.
Good gracious, explain yourself, witness.
Well... If we examine the facts, there's only one logical conclusion we can draw. The damage on the base of the birdcage clearly indicates that it crashed tail first into the tower.
Deduction.
That's not what he said. But multiple witness reports claim it fell head first. The birdcage materialized in the sky next to a balloon flying over the stage following a spontaneous explosion. At an altitude of some 60 feet above ground level. Of course, people are fucking blind.
Which is approximately 18 meters.
It then proceeded to fall some 30 feet into the Crystal Tower in the ensuing deflagration. Witness reports amid such chaos are notoriously unreliable.
Objection.
And yet you guys are holding on to it as fact. But the victim's neck was broken.
Objection.
He plummeted 30 feet inside a heavy wooden cage. However he fell, it would be unsurprising to find one or two of his vertebrae crushed. Well, Drebber? A riveting scientific analysis of events from the prosecution there. Though to be even more rigorous, you would have to say it was only one vertebra, actually. What? It wasn't quite for long.
I find it hard to see what's motivating Lord Van Zeeks. This witness is clearly a swindler and one who deceived a personal friend of his.
If you're going to establish this deception, do it right.
Sorry?
I feel like that's the undertone here. Ah, yes, and there's one more point. The defense appears to have forgotten. It obviously wasn't a trick, as a certain truth very plainly demonstrates. What?
It seems to me that the cross-examination had better continue until we resolve this matter. Mr. Drebber, you will amend your testimony with details of this truth.
Of course, we must treat the matter scientifically after all. Ugh, I nearly had him there. Okay, still on the same testimony, huh? What's our latest statement? The kinesis clearly took place because there's nowhere else 30 feet high for the birdcage to have fallen from. Well... This is where we just present the hot air balloon, no? I'm scared to just present this immediately.
Objection.
Yeah, I knew it. I'm rushing too much into things. Surely something about the last statement seems odd, doesn't it?
Would you care to mull over precisely what you find odd about it in your return journey to Japan?
That's very freaking harsh. My lord, I wouldn't be back to give the court an answer for about 4 months, though.
Rest assured, we should be happy to carry proceedings forward in your absence, Consul.
Sounds serious. I have to prove my worth before he really does send me back home. Okay, well, we got 4 chances left, at the very least. Press. What do you mean? Well, before the demonstration began, the victim was alive on stage in front of the audience. Yes, there are lots of witnesses who saw Mr. Asman on the experimentation stage, that's true. And the victim's neck broke as a result of an impact following a fall. Logically, therefore, the victim must have fallen from somewhere. The balloon that exploded was at an altitude of 60 feet. The point of impact on the tower was 30 feet up. That difference of 30 feet is therefore the total distance the birdcage fell. And there's no other location from which the cage could have fallen that distance if it didn't drop out of the sky. Ergo, the victim himself must have been beamed from the stage onto the sky above the Crystal Tower.
A trenchant scientific analysis. Dear me, every time I hear it explained, it sounds increasingly plausible.
Oh yes, it all very well thought out.
Certainly all the spectators on the day saw it. The birdcage plummeting 30 feet through the air, I mean.
Irritatingly, yes. Okay. So we're back there again. Is there anything to present? There's nowhere else 30 feet high for the birdcage to have fallen from. Nothing really points to anything here. This is not any use. Could it be the experiment sketch? Seeing as it also shows where the balloons are and the relative positions of the Crystal Tower and Professor Hairbrain's machine that exploded. It's a possibility. Can't really think of anything else. Maybe the post-explosion photograph showing that the middle floor of the stage has been blown open, so we can prove that the kinesis didn't take place. The machine, the birdcage just fell down there. I feel like that's not right though. Crossbow. Let's go for experiment sketch. We've still got 4 lives left. See where this takes us.
Objection.
Okay. Good. Good. I was on the right track then with the other photo. It's just this one better displays what I'm trying to say, I think. This is a diagram of the experimentation stage and its surroundings. He's not impressed. We know that somehow the birdcage appeared in midair before falling down into the Crystal Tower. A fall of about 30 feet, or 9 meters. However, if you examine the diagram carefully, you'll see that there is one other possible location from which the birdcage could have fallen. I also conveyed this with my other photo, but apparently it's not good enough for the judge. The same distance of 30 feet. No. Well, Drebber, you're the one who fired the crossbow.
Well, it appears the defense has a possible explanation to put forward. Go ahead, counsel.
Yes, my lord. Of course.
You will indicate the place to which you are referring this on the same diagram. The alternative location from which the birdcage could have possibly fallen, the requisite 30 feet.
Oh, the balloon's like way up here. Have I mistaken what I'm actually supposed to be doing here? The alternative location from which the birdcage could have possibly fallen the requisite 30 feet. Oh! Right. Now I understand why the experiment sketch is better than the other photograph I presented. We're talking about the birdcage, the one that actually landed feet first rather than the one that landed head first. And I suppose this is approximately 30 feet here? Where exactly am I pointing? I suppose up here, right? Is it?
Take that!
The place I'm referring to is here. I honestly would have gone for the balloon if it hadn't been cut off at the top of the picture.
But that's where the birdcage would have been to begin with.
Which is exactly the point, my lord. Yes, the birdcage was in the machine on the stage, but what we must also consider is the height of the stage itself.
Go on, counsel.
It turns out that the experimentation stage was built at a considerable height above ground level. If you look at the diagram, in fact, you'll see it's about the same height as above the ground as the balloon was above the crash site. I mean, I did mention the grate on the floor, right? Poof. When the experiment got underway, the machine and the birdcage were engulfed in steam, shrouded in smoke and mystery. At that moment, the floor of the stage gave way, and if we assume there to be a void underneath, this birdcage and the one seen by the audience would have fallen almost exactly the same distance. Oh yeah, keep that wig on. I've seen through your lies, Drebber. Once again, my lord, this all points to the fact that there was not one birdcage, but 2. Instantaneous kinesis, my Nipponese ass.
Objection!
Hey, don't object to that. My learned friend has no evidence that the stage had such a contrivance in its design. On the contrary, this imbecile's bomb actually revealed all. Someone is responsible for the criminal destruction of the kinesis machine itself, it's true. However, the stage still stands. And take a moment to look at the photographic print of the scene following yesterday's explosion. I don't even have to present this. It's common sense at this point. Look.
Good lord! The metal grill that formed the floor of the machine is undone.
Yes, most likely blown open by the force of the explosion that destroyed the rest of the machine. Quite the sacrifice. The defense calls for the space below the stage to be investigated. Immediately! Oh boy. Shouldn't have gone back to the scene to clean up your mess, Drebber. Mr. Drebber! It was you who built the kinesis machine, which means that it was you who built the 2 bird cages that were used to carry out this deception. Whether Professor Hairbrain's hypothesis is sound or not makes no difference, because it's the construction of this machine that matters. A machine designed to take Mr. Asmon's life and lay the blame firmly at the professor's door. Something that could only have been carried out by you, Mr. Enoch Drebber. I don't know why you had to make it so complicated, but you did. Uh-oh. He's shutting down.
Objection!
Of course. Jeez. If my learned friend has reached the end of his wild assertions, the prosecution would like to crush the defense's argument slowly but surely. What? No, your theme music can't be playing now. I just blew this case wide open. Your argument fails to hold water on 2 counts. 2? Firstly, before and after the experiment, this witness went nowhere near the kinesis machine. Every relevant member of staff from the exhibition has attested to that.
And I believe members of Scotland Yard have also been on watch duty at every public experiment.
In other words, Mr. Drebber had no opportunity to switch the alleged pair of bird cages.
Objection!
But I've already explained why he wouldn't have needed to. The nonsense with the crossbow, that doesn't bolster your case at all. The man who disappeared from the stage and the man who crashed into the tower are one and the same. You're really pushing this instantaneous kinesis narrative, aren't you? The forensic investigation team's report is unequivocal on that point. And the second flaw in your assertion is a distinct lack of motive. Why would this man have wanted to take the victim's life? He had no reason to do so. A motive? Do I have to think of everything myself? Jeez, maybe it's not obvious yet. But I'm sure there's one that exists. I have here a contract provided by the witness.
What contract is this, Lord Van Zieks?
The contract into which Mr. Drebber entered with the victim, Mr. Asmon. It reads, Mr. Drebber is to receive 30% of all remunerations from government grants or other income.
30%. Certainly very favorable contractual conditions.
But there was one very important provision bolted onto that clause. What provision? Mr. Drebber may only uphold this right on condition that both contracting parties are alive. Sorry, I sounded like you, my lord, for a few moments. In other words, if either of us were to die, the contract would become null and void. So you see, I had nothing to gain from Mr. Asmon's death. The diametric opposite, in fact. Someone screwed me over. Ugh. Need I say more? The witness had neither an opportunity nor a reason to commit the alleged crime. In short, the possibility of Mr. Drebber having done as you suggest is nil. Ugh. Ah, god damn it. He's good. Damn, he's good.
It seems the defense's assertion was somewhat wide of the mark. He can think about it on his journey home to Japan. Lord Van Zieks, you will submit the contract as evidence, please.
Drebber's contract has been entered into the court record. Oh, I love reading contracts. The contract between Mr. Asmon and Mr. Drebber detailing the terms by which they would profit from the kinesis experiment. Hey, I did my postgraduate degree in this. It's true. Wait, let's take a look first. Terms of investment. The investor, Mr. Odie Asmon, hereby enters into contract with the provider, Mr. Enoch Drebber, to fund labor and materials for the construction of a super high voltage instantaneous kinesis machine. Mr. Drebber is to receive 30% of all remunerations from government grants or other income. Mr. Drebber may only uphold this right on condition that both contracting parties are alive. Well, that's a very specific clause in the contract. It's almost like they foresaw this happening, that one of them might be dead. Curious, very curious. We've got both their signatures there. Do we still have Mr. Drebber's business card? I don't think so. I think we passed it along to Toby for sniffing, so we can't compare the signatures. Not that I think that matters. What's so strange about this? We know that he's to receive 30% of all remunerations from government grants or other income. Can only uphold it on the condition both are alive. Okay. Okay. Interesting. If Drebber had no opportunity to switch the birdcage under the stage with one in the Crystal Tower, he couldn't have done it. And in any case, I have no idea what his motive might have been. Maybe he got a better deal.
There's one aspect of your argument that still holds true, however. There were 2 bird cages. The prosecution is unable to deny that. So I'm sure you're on the right lines, Mr. Naruhodo.
Yeah, that's my story in a nutshell. Susato, I'm always on the right track, but god damn it, I can't follow the track to its destination. Not until it's like 2 inches away from my face.